clarity comes through taking action. And so it took a lot of taking small steps in spite of that fear. You know, I still ride in the car with fear every day. It's just not in the driver's seat anymore.
If you want to take control of your finances and create freedom for yourself, your family, your loved ones, don't touch the dial. Don't go away, because today I have a very special guest on The Unstoppable. She defines the word unstoppable. She may bleed Tennessee orange as a volunteer, but let me tell you, this woman is pure fire. It's Kendrick Shope. You do exist. Welcome to the show, Kendrick.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, it has. You know, as we were doing a little bit of offstage talk, we talked about college. We talked about some sales techniques and where you're from. And you are a Tennessee volunteer, right? And you told me you bleed orange, and it's in your blood, but you got a passion and fire in your blood. And I want you to bring that to me today. You got this passion, you got this belief and this conviction. And I think that you got to first buy the messenger before you ever listen to the message. So I'm ready to listen to your message because I'm buying you. You are the creator of authentic selling. Before we dive into your background, give me a little bit about what authentic selling is to you.
Yeah, what a great question. So authentic selling, my audience is predominantly women, and women predominantly have fears around selling. I'm making some generalizations here, or some assumptions, but a lot of my customers have fear around selling. They don't want to be icky, sleazy, slimy. They don't want to be a bully, a sales bully. And so authentic selling teaches them some good old-fashioned sales techniques that have been tweaked just a little bit so that they don't have to always go for the close, or they don't always have to do things the way that we would probably do it in corporate America. It gives them the freedom to adjust and be them and create relationships like you talk a lot about, Bill. And it's foundational, good old-fashioned selling that is built on relationships and is built on more than just getting the close.
You know, it sounds to me like a form of enrolling hearts and minds. I think if you enroll hearts and minds, it comes from a place where you are incrementally making the close. You're slowly moving toward yes in everything you do. Sometimes going for the juggler is the way to lose.
Absolutely.
Way to
100%. Yeah.
No. You know, and you say something I think is very important, that whether you are male, female, just in life, that you never sell your integrity on the altar of a dollar. So authentic selling is that, as I've done my research, it's how to maintain your self-respect and integrity and still make money. Am I on the right track?
You're absolutely right. And one step further from just maintaining your integrity, it's how to be you. You know, for so long, there were just follow these steps. This is how you get to a yes. Well, what if I don't like step number 4? What if step number 4 makes me want to crawl in a hole and die? I'm not going to have a lot of success doing step number 4, completing step number 4. So yes, you maintain your integrity, which is absolutely vital, but then it also allows you to be you and to adjust and to say, okay, great. If you don't like step number 4, let's find a different way to accomplish the exact same thing that you do enjoy doing.
You know where I found my power? I found my power when I got off script. So I went to Liberty Mutual. Liberty Mutual trained me how to do the script. I tripped all over my tongue. Never made a sale, lost my first 13. And the fear compounded. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to meet people as people. Let's just give it a shot. Let's just find out where they're from, why they're doing this. Let's just find out about them. And then let me tell you the most powerful thing. I am not for everyone. And they would look at me and they would say, well, are you supposed to tell me step 5, step 6, you're supposed to do this and then make an assumed close on this? No, I might not be for you. Now, they started to listen, not just hear. Because you're a real person, warts and all, I've always believed you might as well show them the warts. They're going to find them anyway. You know,
I agree 100%. Absolutely. Yes.
You know, Kendrick, fear is the predominant thing that stops people, period. And I wrote a book called Always Forward, and the first part of the book is about fear. And I don't really believe you overcome fear as much as you become familiar with it comfortable with it to a certain degree, and you can lessen the severity of fear as you keep moving forward in life and doing those things that you once feared. It becomes less. You got to do the dominant fear. To give you an instance of fear in Kendrick Shope, and when you first embraced it and started to learn that's the devil you got to dance with if you're going to move forward.
Yeah. So I would say that I suffered from maybe the worst kind of fear. I didn't even know I was afraid. I wouldn't have called it fear. If somebody had told me that I had this fear, I would have said, no, I don't. Let me give you all the evidence that that is not true. I would have sold you that you were wrong. But 15 years ago, and I still butt up against it today, I'm afraid of failure. I used to be very afraid of failure to the point where I wouldn't take new risks. When I started this business, I was petrified of failing, but it took a lot of what I call mindset work, always going forward in your language. Clarity comes through taking action. And so it took a lot of taking small steps in spite of that fear. You know, I still ride in the car with fear every day. It's just not in the driver's seat anymore. Yeah. But for 10 years.
That's a great one, by the way.
Yeah.
That is a great one. We should tweet that and put me on. It's not Kendrick.
Okay, we will. Yeah. Yeah.
Love that. Your fear still rides along with you, only it's not in the driver's seat.
Yeah. But for a long time, it absolutely dominated my professional life, you know, and it disguised itself with a lot of limiting things. Like, you're too old to start something new. You'd be a bad mom if you started something new. Your time has passed. That was just fear trying to keep me where I was. You got a good job. You make a lot of money. Don't start something new. I mean, fear was in the driver's seat for a long time. And so that's the time that I can think I've been most afraid of anything in my life.
Well, I'll tell you where it wasn't in the driver's seat, where you were in the driver's seat. If you haven't checked out Kendrick Shope on the Steve Harvey Show, go do it. Because I had to follow you, all right? And that, fear was definitely driving that day. So you were magnificent on that show. You are confident. You have substance behind the style. I want people to check you out on YouTube. Check out, where else can we find you?
Find me at kendrickshope.com, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, you know, all the usuals, Facebook. I'm easy to find.
Let me tell you, let me give you an example of fear. And I'm gonna throw this back to Kelsey, who makes me look good if I can, as good as I can. But here's fear. I just inked my deal today with McGraw-Hill for a book on failure, which has everything to do with fear, failure, learning, called Fail More. And here's where fear comes in. We punch it up. We were high-fiving this morning. We see the contract. And she said, you're only looking at the other stuff. You're not looking at this one detail. What's the detail? She said, well, what's today's date? April 5th. They want this by August, what, 4th? That's called fear. So,
yeah.
You guys should do what I did in school and just wait till the last minute? Or you think I should start now?
I think you should probably start now. I think that clarity comes through taking action. So I think every day you do a little bit, you're going to get more clear.
Well,
and congratulations, by the way.
Thanks,
that's fantastic.
Thanks, but right now, fear's in the driver's seat. You're working on some projects with 2 Market Media. You're working on some projects for a reality show.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're also working on a book. So give me a little bit about what you're working on with 2 Market.
Yeah. So the thing I'm most excited about is the book. The book's been a long time coming. You know, you've written some before, and it's my first book. So I am trial by fire. I'm learning a lot. I'm very green, but I'm excited to get it out. We talked about it on the Steve Harvey Show, and the interest has been phenomenal for the book. We have a waiting list now for the book that's not even done. So I'm excited about talking about how women can use selling to get anything they want. It goes beyond just people in corporate America or people who have something to sell online. It really is the tool to get what you want in life. And I thoroughly believe that. And that's why the reality show as well has been so exciting, because we have women doing all sorts of things, and what they bring a problem. I want X, and through learning sales tools and strategies, they learn how to get X. It's amazing.
Kendrick, when I think about you, and I think about selling for women, so give me one of the big differences selling, for women, and the difference between man and women selling.
Yeah, so I think the first difference is for most part, have to overcome this fear of being a sales bully. We've all got a rotten sales story to share. We've all been sold in a way that doesn't feel good. I mean, that's just an experience in life. But from my perspective, men have an easier time overcoming that. Women do not want to be that person. They will go so far away from being that person that it is detrimental to what they're selling. They would rather sit on the beach and just, if you build it, they will come kind of thing. And so the first thing we have to do is we spend an entire module on selling is helping. It is your obligation to sell. If you have a product or service that can change somebody's life, health, business, weight, finances, whatever, fill in the blank, and you don't share with them, shame on you. And so it is really getting women to see that, no, actually, this is part of their mission on the planet to help other people. And you don't have to sell men on that as much. Men can separate themselves. They can say, I've got a job to do. There is this, yes, it helps if they believe in the product or service. Absolutely. But men seem to me to be able to separate from that mission more so than women.
And I think that, if I was going to make a distinction, I think women may be more prone to empathy, which is the key to selling, to understanding the emotional bandwidth of things, and having a more consultative approach to a business transaction. Sometimes we're men sometimes are hammers, and everything to us looks like a nail, and that maybe is not the best way. So you got to find your way in authentic selling. You've got to be able to be yourself, and you got to take those small steps toward yes.
Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt. And I think that
in the back seat too.
Yeah, if you're in the back seat, right? Mic drop. That needs to be a mic drop moment.
Sounds like high school to me, but we won't go there. But
no.
All right, Kendrick, the show always goes there eventually. But go. Eventually, Bill shows up.
I love it.
Tell me about the online sales school you have. I'm sorry? Let me compose myself. Tell me about the online sales school you have.
So Sales School is in its 5th year. It is probably the thing that I am most proud of that has been created under the umbrella of authentic selling. And it's a 7-week online course where people who have a mission, have a product, have a service to sell, come and learn how to do that. You know, you can be the best you know this, Bill, but you can be the best marketer in the world. You can have the best website. You can work for a Fortune 500 company, but if you can't sell, you don't make money, period. And so I work with a lot of people who have an idea, have a vision, have a product that can change lives, but they don't know how to get money in the door. They don't know how to get customers to say yes. And so that's what we teach them to do in Sales School.
So Kendrick, give me, because I'm a huge believer, I'm a fan. Take me inside the experience. I'm in your sales school. Do I have access to you on, how often do I have access to you?
Yeah. So Sales School, as I said, is a 7-week experience, and that starts with classes live every Monday because I don't believe in, I'm a big believer in if I'll get to it later, that means you never get to it. So the classes are live. You get the recordings as well, but classes are live for an hour where we teach the foundations, the principles of selling, you know, how to overcome objections, how to have a sales call, how to prospect, those types of things. And then you have Q&A weekly with me for 90 minutes, and you have assignments as well. So you have an entire online-based classroom that you go into that is full of videos, that is full of resources, but then you also get me weekly for 3 hours a week where I'm teaching and answering questions because, again, I believe that I'll get to it later or it means I'll never get to it. So we show up live. That's why I believe that's why our customers have such phenomenal results because it literally has a beginning and end.
And part of the result has to be found in the feedback loop from what you're teaching to what they're doing. Because what did you say? That action brings clarity?
Clarity comes through taking action. Yeah, same thing.
I knew I'd ruin that. So I just knew I would. So therefore, I did. But the feedback loop for you. So they're telling you, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. I'm trying this. So you're able to adjust on the fly with them. So you're real time with them. I mean, you are.
It's real time. Yeah. So like, for example, in week 5, you learn how to overcome objections. And there's 7 tools that we teach for overcoming objections, literally sales verbatims, what to say. And then that week, people go out and they sell. And they'll come back and they say, I tried discounting the objection and here's what happened. And I'll say, great, here's how you tweak it. So you're right. It's real time. It's why, we have 57 pages full of testimonials about sales school. And we have limited the number of people who have been able to take it. So it's why it's the leading sales training online, because of this feedback.
That is powerful. That is powerful. You've actually made me speechless. So I'm going to watch this segue. Watch how awkward this is. Kels, take the colors blue and white and black and gold. Mix them, tell me what color my blood is, okay? So we're going to go there because I'm going to bring you back to Tennessee, okay? You're coming out of Tennessee, man. You're ready to kick ass, take on the world. You got the orange going. You got the orange flowing. You right? How did you start? What's your first job?
My first job was working at a local bank in Sweetwater, Tennessee. And that's where I think a lot of the foundations for authentic, of course I didn't know it, but the foundations for authentic selling came from. It was a community bank that was focused on the customer, that was always customer first. And I worked there for about a year and then transitioned to cold calling.
How'd you like that?
Hated it. Was great at it, but not my favorite cup of tea.
Okay,
does anybody like cold calling? I'm sure somebody does. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a whole different AB normal gene in the brain, but I had that. I didn't enjoy it, but I immersed myself into it. That's part of the whole bargain of going forward. What you talked about with customer service and being client centric is everything there is to do with sales, because everything starts to me with that customer service ethic. That's really what we're doing. You say selling is helping. Absolutely. And the sale doesn't stop for us once the person says yes. As a matter of fact, it really begins because you're always enrolling the hearts. You're always enrolling. And you said something else that made me remember viscerally in my gut how it felt to be sold. And I promised myself I would never do that. So I didn't even want to get into selling to begin with because it felt dirty. But right. I started to change that dynamic to enrollment, where I was going to really try to enroll the heart and then the mind, because people buy from emotion first. And I'm trying to enroll that through a process. Never look at the wallet, always look at the heart, and be able to push away and explain you may not be for this person at this time. Things happen.
Absolutely. I never will forget one of the, and I didn't like it at the time. As a matter of fact, I hated it. I probably even cried, if I'm being completely honest. But I had a manager when I was in pharmaceutical sales say to me, have you ever thought that your personality might be a bit abrasive? And I was like, no, I've never thought that. As a matter of fact, I think my personality next to my flaming red hair is one of the best assets that I have. It's why my doctors love me. But and we had this discussion and I remember it didn't hit me until years later that what he was essentially saying is what you're saying, Bill. That is, you're not for everybody, right? You know, for the person who doesn't want somebody loud and on fire and is put off by that, yeah, I'm not the person for you. Absolutely not. And that also goes into what we teach, you know, for somebody who wants to learn really aggressive hammer nail type sales strategies. I'm not the person for you. And I'm absolutely comfortable telling you that.
Yep. I'm going to jump into a comment here that you're going to love, or at least I think you'll appreciate. But when you work cold calling, this is the first part of that rejection where it hits you up every call. How did you get through that and move forward? What technique, what overlying strategy, what was it that drove you through that stuff you didn't like? Because you have to do it.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning, it was, if I'm being really honest, it was probably, I'm going to go buy a really cute pair of shoes at the end of today if I make X amount of calls. It was a carrot. I mean, that's typical sales mentality, right? Hit the quota, get a reward. Hit the quota, get a reward. But the thing that I learned to do that I think is vital for anybody selling anything, but especially cold calling, is what happens if you don't make this call? In other words, I needed to believe in the difference that the product was making. I needed to believe wholeheartedly that if I could just get this person talking, I could make a difference in their lives. Yeah. And so I had to sell myself on the product. And that was the case no matter what I was selling. When I sold lumber, I mean, lumber is about as bland and as boring as you could get. So I went to Lowe's and I touched the lumber.
It's a little more sexy than insurance, though.
But well, there you go. I mean, I had to sell myself on, no, actually this protects people's homes when there's a hurricane. Actually, this creates a place for people to raise their babies. Like, I had to be sold on the product.
Yeah. And I was in commercial insurance, and my thing was, I want to change the way this game is done. I want that person that will tell you, this is what you're paying, and people, wow, the hidden fees, here's what they are. They're not hidden anymore. And if we don't do this, fire us. And no one would put that out there. So I wanted to transform. You and I share this. I'm going to make this statement, and I think sometimes we can overpower people in a conference room. There's not really a room big enough. Men fear, I'm going to just say it, fear women who have fire. You represent and embody fire, right? You mentioned your hair, your personality, your confidence, your strength. That makes a lot of men nervous. They get nervous when there's a woman that's capable, that's confident. Ooh, look out. You know, men write the contracts, not women, right? They write the contracts to put women in a certain place because we fear certain things. That's just part of the game. With me, it's always been, you might be overpowering. You might have a little too much testosterone. Can't you tone that down a little bit? No, you've got to be you. At all times, you got to be you. And I think you've become very comfortable with and embrace the fact that that's who you are. And that is a big, big tip for anyone taking authentic selling.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that you're absolutely right. I think that, all you have to do is walk into a corporate America boardroom, and it's going to be predominantly, men. You look at the number of women in Congress, the number of women in CEO positions. And of course, yes, you're absolutely right about that. But you have I don't even notice that anymore. Maybe I did when I was, younger. I don't notice it. I realize that that's somebody else's issue. And you're right. I've got to be me, and I am big, and I am Southern. And, I've had people say to me before, you sound dumb when you speak, fix that accent. And I'm like, absolutely not. That's just not who I am. And so that's their issue. And I'm going to show up and do the best I can. And if we butt heads and if something is, inappropriately done, then I'm plenty comfortable addressing that as well. But that comes through experience. When I was 20 something years old, I'm sure that was a much bigger issue to me than it is now. I don't even give that a second thought.
All right, Kendrick, here comes the elephant. It's in the room. I'm going to say it. They can pull the plug on this. Why is it that when women are assertive, they're known as a bitch? And that's probably the best word you could use. And men are heroes. We're studs if we're assertive. Yeah. But women, she's just bitch.
Yeah. So I think that this is such an interesting question, and I don't have the full answer to, but here's what research has told me, that it's a two-part issue. Part of it's socialization, and we don't even know we're doing it, and we all do it. The thing that the other elephant in the room is that men and women are both guilty of it, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. But the other part of that is it's in our genetics. So it's a little bit of nature and it's a little bit of nurture. But the more important distinction is we're all guilty of it. So there was a study done at Harvard several years ago, and I don't remember the technical name. I always call it the Howard versus Heidi study. And it was a classroom or a group of mixed gender people, so both men and women, and they were all given a sheet of paper. And on the sheet of paper, it had a resume or a whatever. I believe it was a resume. And the only difference was at the top of the page, half of it said Howard whatever, and the other half said Heidi whatever. Everything else was same kind of paper, same kind of ink. And at the end, they surveyed this group of people. And they said, how many of you would like to work for Howard? Lots of hands went up. How many of you want to work for Heidi? Not near as many hands went up. How many of you think Howard is trustworthy? Many hands went up. How many of you think Heidi's trustworthy? Not near as many hands. How many of you think Howard's a guy you want to go have a beer with? Lots of people. How many of you want to go have a beer with Heidi? Not near as many people. The only difference was That one's name was female, one's name was male. They even went as far as to quiz these people about why, and people said, well, I think Heidi's a bitch. But the resume said the exact same thing. Both men and women said Heidi was a bitch. So I don't know the answer other than it's some nature and it's some nurture, but we're all guilty of it.
That's
Both men and women. And that's the thing I think that a lot of people don't talk about is usually, it's the men saying she's a bitch. Not necessarily. We're just as guilty of it as women. And that's the part that's infuriating.
That's interesting. Actually, the study, that's fascinating.
It is. It is.
Let's stay with Howard and Heidi. At what point do you find that women, and have earned this, will exploit their looks, especially in the pharmaceutical sales industry, to sell a product, to push a product in a short skirt, but their intentions are good, but they understand that sex does sell. Or the illusion for the man that I'm going to get this woman because I'm going to, that's just, you understand the whole buying dynamic behind that. At what point do you suggest or teach your students, or would teach anyone, you got to learn to grow your substance? Style is great, be yourself, but you got to be able to walk away from a bad position. How do you confront that elephant?
Well, I think that that's a really complex question. So I think that the first part of that is that looks matter. They're for both men and women, but women make more money who are perceived as more beautiful. Women who are perceived as thinner make more money. It just is. So that's another elephant in the room. They're really going to pull the plug by the time I get done with this answer.
Yeah, they're just gonna shove this one. It's never gonna go.
Yeah,
they're already.
Yeah.
Out.
But I mean, that's the thing.
Right now.
That's the thing we don't want to talk about, but it's true. Like there are studies that exist that prove that that's true. When I was selling pharmaceuticals, did I wear short skirts and boots? I did. Now I didn't wear, prostitute type short skirts, but I flattered my body. Did I know that helped me get back into offices? Yeah, I did. Like there's some knowledge that I just am not going to turn away from. The difference I think is that I also never sacrificed my integrity. I never put myself or allowed myself to be in a situation where it was anything other than, yeah, she's an attractive woman who knows her stuff.
There you go.
So, and I think that a smart, intelligent woman who knows that I am competing against a whole bunch of men or whatever to get back here, and I may get back initially because I've got on a skirt and a pair of boots, but when I get back, I'm going to blow their minds, is a smart woman. I don't think that's my opinion. Now, people are going to hate that. I don't care. It's the truth.
I love that. I did this on a television show in Tampa. They said, tell us the difference between style and substance. And it wasn't a rehearsed question. I had no idea. And I said, well, style may get you in the room, but substance keeps you there.
Exactly.
You've got to grow your substance, or you will always be that pretty woman with nothing to offer. So yeah, we're going places I didn't think we'd go.
Yeah, me too.
What color's my blood? Do you know? Hell yeah, I'm serious. I want to know what color my blood is. I mean, Kendrick, give me, if there is such a thing, and I know this is another broad question, but give me your ideal student. What does the ideal student to you look like?
Our ideal student is somebody who has most likely left a corporate America type job because they were unfulfilled, because they wanted a different life, because they wanted they had a mission for themselves, and they are either trained in a service that can change somebody's life. So maybe they're a life coach, or they're a weight loss coach, or whatever, or they have created a product on their own. And both of those people need help converting customers. So we have people from corporate America come through sales school as well. We've had pharmaceutical sales reps come through sales school as well, but the majority of our people are trying to run a business online. They're trying to get customers online. They want massive impact, massive reach, and they need more customers, and they want to make more money. And they want to do it in a way that does not sacrifice their integrity.
Because we're subject to my ADD brain, we left you off at the pharmacy, I think. You were in pharmaceutical sales. Give me some more of your heroine's journey.
Yeah, so I just like my customers. I had sort of this aha moment where I was rocking my daughter to sleep. She was 2 years old, and we used to I told her every night, I still do, you can be anything you want to be in this world. All you have to do is believe. And I realized that this little girl may not understand what I'm saying, but one day she's going to. And she's going to say, Mommy, did you want to sell drugs for a living? Because that's essentially what I did. I mean, it was illegal kind of drugs, and I was going to have to look this baby girl in the face and say, actually, no, I didn't want to sell drugs, but it's a good job and I make good money. And so I put her in the bed, burst through our doors in Chicago, and said to my husband, not doing it anymore. I'm living a lie. And this little girl is going to be able to look at me one day and say, Mommy went after her dreams and I can too. And so from there, I hired an executive career coach to try to help me figure out what I wanted to do. That introduced me to life coaching. I got certified to be a life coach and quit my job to be a life coach. The problem with that was I'm a terrible life coach. You know, life coaching, the belief about life coaching is you lead people there, but you let them figure it out for themselves. Well, I was very much that nail hammer kind of know what you need to do is X, Y, Z. I wanted to tell people what to do. And that's not what people need as a life coach. So I was in this mastermind group, and somebody said, I need a little help selling. And I said, well, I got no customers. Maybe I can help you out. I used to be a pretty good saleswoman. And 90 minutes later, she said, oh, my dear, you're doing the wrong thing. You're not a life coach. You need to be teaching selling. And I was so close to it. I remember saying to her, I don't know what I just did for you. I could not replicate that because I don't know what I told you that made an impact on your business. And she was a very generous woman and said, well, let's extrapolate it together. And so we spent a couple of months pulling out and creating what those skills were that I had that I could teach, and that became authentic selling.
You know, I'm starting to, I know you're married, but I'm starting to fall in love because I love your definition of life coach. I don't get it. I'm not morally empowered to tell anyone how to live their life. Exactly. There are other places and sources and resources they can go to. The meaning of life is to live your life.
Yeah.
More life. So I'm going to hug you on that one. If I could get there, I would do that. I would absolutely do that. You know, what's the purpose of the exercise for me? When you get out of bed every day, and I think you did this in Chicago, you had that epiphany, and you look at why do I do what I do? What's the real purpose of this exercise? And it's got to be something that transcends money. So for Kendrick Shope, what's the real purpose of what you do behind the exercise?
Behind the exercise of what?
Just getting out of bed every day. What's the compelling pool, that passionate purpose you have that is embodied by that flaming red air?
Well, I think that the reason I get out of bed every day is because this is going to sound cheesy, but this is life. You know, this is a gift. And every day I want to put my head on the pillow and say, I made a difference, I made an impact, and I had fun. Now, I realize that every day you may not make a sizable difference and you may not make a sizable impact, but I want to take, if it's turtle steps towards that, then I'll take turtle steps. Yes. But I want to have, you know, the old cliche, when you're 100 years old and you're falling into your grave, I want to say, I have lived, I have loved, and I have been here, and people know that I've been here. Even if it's just my daughter and my family, they know, and their life was better because of it.
You know, we're going to get to that question, but it's the last one. So we might not need to do it. We can just probably cut this and edit it, Kelsey. Have you figured out what color my blood is yet?
I think you need some orange. I think you got some orange.
Really ugly green. It's kind of really ugly green. So now I know I'm an alien. Like, you know, it's a really ugly green. I wouldn't recommend going back. You wouldn't recommend it? School. I guess I'm not done with my education. Kendrick, every day I get up and I think about this. Whatever I'm doing, does it further my purpose in life? The purpose of the exercise for me is to create lifestyle options beyond what I have now. But the purpose of those options is so I can live a better, more enriched life. And that comes from within, and share with my loved ones and do those things with the time I have on this earth that makes a difference. It's a pretty simple as for me in that way. And anything else that takes you away from that, all this bullshit, that's noise, that's distractions, that distracts from the purpose of the exercise, you got to cut that shit out, including people. You know,
Absolutely.
how does Kendrick Shope, I'm talking as if you're in third person here, how does Kendrick Shope define success?
I think success is having some money in the bank. That's not a popular answer, but in my life, I have found that that money will not make you happy. Lack of money will make you miserable. So I think that, having some financial security is success. I think that having people around you that you love, that you can't imagine waking up and not seeing every day is success. I think if I had to describe it in one word, I would say full. Having a full life full of people, having a full bank account, having a life full of experiences, whatever those experiences are, travel, money, I don't care. But just having a full heart and a full life is what success is to me.
The other side of that shiny coin isn't so shiny, but it's part and parcel of the bargain that is success. It's called failure.
Absolutely.
What would you say is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Oh my God. I could go on and on and on about my biggest failures.
Bill on the air, okay?
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Let's see.
Right there, Kendrick. It was
biggest failure. So I think that what my mind wants to say is I've made lots of failures in business. I've made mistakes in business that have cost money as I've grown, because I believe clarity comes through taking action. And so I've probably taken some actions that were not the smartest. But what my gut wants to say, and I have learned to trust my gut, is my biggest failure was, and I don't regret it, but my biggest failure was not creating this life sooner. Waiting until, I had a lot of jobs, and I made the job the villain. I didn't like telemarketing, so I was going to change to selling. I was going to change to face-to-face selling. And I liked pharmaceutical sales, but I didn't love it. And I knew that. I knew that from year one. And so I think sitting around and becoming complacent because of fear for so long was my biggest failure. Now, it turned out all right. And every step I took, I believe, led me closer to where I'm supposed to be. But I never want my daughter to be that unfulfilled for that long in her life. And so I would say that's the same for me. I was unfulfilled for a long time. I didn't have a full life. I had an almost full life, but not full.
What is your one defining moment, that thing that changed the whole trajectory and the arc from where you were to where you are now?
I think that the biggest defining moment would be having Hallianna. So if I hadn't had Hallianna, I don't know that I would be uttering, you can be anything you want to be in this world. All you got to do is believe. I don't know that it would have hit me like a ton of bricks that I need to be better for her. And so, like many parents, I would say having my daughter changed me in ways that I never knew was going to happen.
Yes. And that's a great one. Where can we find you? Because people are going to be tuning in and saying, where do I find this tremendous font of knowledge all wrapped up with this great attitude, this sass? Where do we find you?
KendrickShope.com is the best way.
KendrickShope.com, and Shope is SHOPE. KendrickShope.com. Is it written in orange?
No, but it ought to be. It doesn't have a lot of orange on the website, actually. It doesn't have any orange. It's got some hot pink, but.
I'm going to throw you a tough one, okay? This is the tough one. You've just been killing this thing. And by the way, most of the greats on the show have a really hard time with that failure part, because it's a setback like it is for you. It's like, yeah, it's just something I've learned from. It's just, it doesn't stop them. If it stopped them, they wouldn't be on the Unstoppables.
Absolutely.
So it's just all part of the deal of what we call life. It's just all part of going forward.
Yep.
Life, there's no such thing, they said in Tombstone, as a perfect life. It's just life.
That's right.
Best of what we have. And here's something that I want to throw to you. The difference between, your estimation, difference between having regret and then feeling remorse. What do you think the difference is?
I think regret stops you. So I think having remorse, is a human emotion that, as much as I don't like feeling it, I never want to let go of. You can do things with the best intent and sometimes not with the best intent, and feel sorry for them, or apologetic, or remorseful, or look back and say, God, I wish I had known and not made that choice. I think regret stops you. I think it's the difference between clean pain and dirty pain. You cut your finger and it bleeds and it hurts, and that's clean pain. But if you're still talking about that flipping cut 7 years later, you need to move the flip on. And so I think that regret stops you. I think regret stews in your stomach. That may be a Southern saying, that sort of boils in there, and it prevents you from taking action. And when you're prevented from taking action, then you're not growing and you're not helping. So I think that's the difference.
I'm just getting over a bug coming back from New York. You're going to make me want to get up off this chair and put Kelsey in here. When you mentioned stewing in your stomach, I just want
that was my intent, after all.
I'm going back Friday. You know what I tell people about remorse? And you said a great thing about a clean cut versus a dirty cut, or dirty healing, is in relationships, you need to cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
With a scalpel, not a butter knife. You need to make the chop, but not keep gnawing at it and make it that pain last forever, because it will actually take that past experience and make it your present. And when it makes it your present, you foreclose your future.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to say it.
Thank you. It's almost as good as my hair say. It's a perfect day. So what is, Kendrick, I know you're probably getting a little too much of me in one shot.
I don't know if that's possible. We both got pretty fabulous hair, so
I know you do. I'm trying to say, hold on, that's some hair right there. I shouldn't be throwing stones because you got some hair. Kendrick, I'm a huge fan, I mean that. I'm not trying to sell your course, but I'm a believer in your course, and I don't get out there and try to. But I'm really a fan of your course. I'm a fan of what you're doing. I'm a believer in what you're doing. I think you're the right messenger, and you've got a vital message. You need to get over there, and you need to get on authentic selling if you want to learn how to make a difference in your life. And she's not bullshitting. She ain't candy coating. She's telling you, hey, it's about making effing money. So you get out there with all your wah-wah sideline with your life coach. You got to feel good. You got to have a place to feel right. Yeah, bullshit. You got to have money in your bank account. And then let's talk about how you feel, right?
I agree. And, it's funny because I wrote a paper in high school. That's how long ago and that's a long time ago. That's how long ago I remember when I remember uttering the saying, money will not make you happy. I believe that, but lack of money can make you miserable. And I said it earlier, and I believe, why? There should be no charge with money. It's a tool. So let's make as much of it as we can and live life as full as we can.
My mother is in the latter stages of her life, although she'll probably live for another 40 years. And she now cleans out the archives, of which they are vast, of all the stuff in the past she collected from high school. And she said to me, Billy, she still calls her Billy, I found this paper. You were really worried about money. Yeah, Mom. I don't have any. I didn't know you were this worried about it. Yeah, Mom. You didn't have any. So do you think it hurt to pick up a phone 300 times a day and put it against my ear when I had to think back in the day when I used to have to open up soup cans to find out what I was going to eat without a label? No. No, I'll do it. Kendrick, you got the book. You've got great hair. What is next for you? What's the next part of the journey? Is it the book? Yeah,
the book and being everywhere. So I do believe that it is that I love to speak. I love to share this message. I love to give people permission to say, you know what? I want to live a full life in every aspect, from a bank account to our experiences to the people that I fill my life with each day, because too many people are unhappy. And so I want that message everywhere because I believe in that message, and I believe in selling people on the idea that you can have it all. You can be unstoppable. So yeah, the book is the next step. And then from that, speaking and helping bring people to that aha moment of, you know what, this isn't good enough. A fine life is not good enough. It needs to be better than that. I got one chance.
This is a personal question for me. So a little girl from the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, now that might be wrong geographically. You might have not been from the Smoky Mountains, but
I was.
okay. Little girl from the Smoky Mountains, then gets to Chicago. It's doing well. Has an aha moment, says, I can't do this anymore. Cuts, and all of a sudden the lights go on and you're sitting next to Steve Harvey. Tell me what that experience is like, sitting there with that live audience looking down on top of you with all those cameras that you really have to ignore. And then the Steve Harvey sitting next to you. How'd that feel?
Well, as you know, the answer to this probably better than anybody, but I will tell you that I did Steve Harvey a little bit different probably than most people. So I took everybody I could possibly take. I took my husband, I took my assistant, I took my daughter, I took my 80-plus-year-old aunt, I took my mother. Like, I had an entourage. And everybody I met, I said, it was all of us. It was ridiculous. And I said, look, I may never be on TV again. Britney Spears comes here. She's got her entourage. I brought my entourage. And it was just because I wanted to soak up every minute of that moment. So in that little bitty green room, my whole family, representation is sitting there with me. And it is honestly, if the business were to fall apart tomorrow, it is the single most exciting moment of the entire thing. Sitting there, being somebody from a small town, being on national television, having a conversation with an industry legend, and looking up in the audience and seeing my family in the top corner and seeing Hallianna off stage. She's not supposed to be on stage because she wasn't 18. So they let her peer in and know that her mommy's going to be on TV. It is the thing that I am more proud of than anything else, because I dreamed of that. I dreamed of being on television as a little girl. And so to sit there and see that realized, I can't put it into words.
That's great. That's what a process. It's like, you get to the next station to the next station. They start playing with your hair, no matter how your hair is.
Yep.
But there's nothing like turning that big curtain, I call it, and there it is. Because
there it is.
Yeah, there it is. And you're sitting there, and I was thinking the same thing you were. I was thinking, man, I'm really here. I'm really doing this, and I do belong here. So
Yeah, I will tell you though, we went out to dinner to our favorite restaurant, because obviously that's in Chicago as well. We went out to dinner at to my favorite little restaurant after that.
Throw it to me. What is your restaurant? I love Chicago restaurants. So throw.
Oh, it's a dive. It's not a traditional Chicago restaurant. It's called Bub City. It's greasy hamburgers, greasy macaroni and cheese.
Now.
It's how's that doing for your stomach virus?
That's about time for me to give it to you, Kels.
So we're sitting there, and I said to Hallianna, and she was 7 or 8 at the time, and I said, so what did you think seeing Mommy on TV? Was that cool? And I never will forget. She said, Mommy, I met Nancy Grace. And I was like, how do you even know Nancy Grace? And because Nancy Grace was on the same day I was, and she went, well, she's a big deal. She was on the Steve Harvey Show. And I was like, well, there you have it. Let my kids sum it all up for you. I met Nancy Grace. And then, to make it even worse, her teacher was wonderful and allowed her to talk about an experience of seeing a live television show shot, not a live, but a television show shot. And her teacher emailed me and said all she could talk about was meeting Nancy Grace. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
And that does serve humility, and God love her.
It does. It was perfect.
I could just keep talking with you, but I got one more. I promise you this one. And man, I can't believe we didn't do Kendrick sooner, because wow, you're a high bar. If you could write a paragraph, Kendrick, you are at that point now where you're at 150 years old. You've lived this great life. You lived a full life. You've shared, you have made a difference. Now you're going to leave this earth. If you could write one paragraph for people to learn from, to grow from, to shorten the distance from where they are to where they intend to go, what would that paragraph look like?
Oh, you're really hitting home, because Hallianna's doing a lot of writing. So I'm thinking about grammatical structure, which is not where we want to go with that. So that paragraph would look like, yes, you can. I think that's what I would say. Yes, you can. Whatever it is that you want to do, that you dream of doing, that maybe nobody knows about, that you know in your gut, in your solar plexus, yes, you can. There is nothing that can stop you, not your age, not your station, not your whatever. Yes, you can. The only reason you will not achieve that thing is if you don't take action. So what is one step, one baby step that you can take closer to that thing today? Do it, and do that every day.
She is Kendrick Shope. She brings fire. She is unstoppable because she is authentic, and she does take more than that one step. She has clarity in life. I hate to let you go, but I gotta let you go, but I hate to. So, hey, Hank Norman says,
I'm ready to come back anytime.
Hank,
I'm having a ball.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Actually, I think we need to go to New York. I think we need to meet up in New York with 2 Market.
No, we would burn that. Okay, Hank Norman wrote on Instagram and said, on Facebook and said, you rock. He didn't talk about me. He said, Kendrick rocks, ROX, but that's what Hank spells. Hey, Kendrick, until New York, you stay on. I'm signing off everywhere else.